Okay, so like everyone else, we've been trying to make sense of this whole like RoleCatcher thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it seems kind of wild, right?
Right.
Like they claim they can help you crack the algorithm and all that jazz, but
Hmm.
is it legit or is it just hype,
Like,
you know?
yeah. Well, that's what we're here to figure out, right? We've got all these sources about RoleCatcher and how it works, and
Right.
like what's really interesting is how they're using AI
Oh yeah, the AI
to
kind
kind
of
of
like
like everyone's talking about
I
AI.
know, right? It's like the buzzword of the century.
It is.
But in this case, it actually seems like they're using it in a way that could be really helpful.
Okay, so break it down for me. Like, what's the big deal with RoleCatcher's AI?
Okay, so you know how like applying for jobs online can feel like you're just throwing your resume into a black hole? Oh, tell me about it.
Right, like you never know if a real person even sees it.
Never.
It's all algorithm.
Yes, algorithms.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
Okay.
So they have this AI that analyzes your CV or resume, I guess, depending on where you're from.
Sure.
And it also looks at the job description of the job you're applying for.
Hmm.
And it figures out like the key skills and keywords that the algorithm is probably looking for.
Okay.
So it's like having a secret weapon to get past those digital gatekeepers,
Yeah.
you know?
So it's like an algorithm whisperer or something.
Basically. And then it helps you tailor your application to highlight those key things so you're more likely to get noticed.
Okay, that's actually pretty smart.
Right.
Like instead of just using like generic advice, it's actually looking at the specific job you're going for.
Exactly. It's all about personalization and like making you stand out from the crowd.
So it's not just about finding a job, it's about understanding how to play the game.
Exactly. It's like giving you the cheat codes or something.
I like it.
And on top of all that,
Mm-hmm.
they have this whole suite of other tools too.
Oh, really? Like what?
So there's this browser extension called RoleCatcher.
Catcher. Catchy name.
Right. And it lets you save job postings from any website like LinkedIn, Indeed, wherever,
Oh, that's handy.
directly to your RoleCatcher dashboard.
Okay.
So no more like emailing links to yourself or trying to remember where you saw something.
Yeah, I've totally been there.
It's all organized in one place.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Right. And then there's the interview prep stuff.
Oh, yeah, because everyone knows interviews are the worst.
Yeah.
The worst. But they have this library of like a gazillion interview questions.
A gazillion. Come on now.
Okay, well, maybe not a gazillion, but it's a lot. Like over 120,000 or something.
120,000.
Or not.
Seriously. Okay, that's actually a lot of interview questions.
It's ridiculous, right? And they're categorized by skill and career path. So you're not just getting like generic questions.
Okay.
You're practicing with questions that are actually relevant to the jobs you're applying for.
That's really smart.
Right.
So you're not wasting time like practicing answers for questions that no one's going to ask you.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm kind of impressed with this RoleCatcher thing so far.
Right. It's like they've thought of everything.
It sounds like it. Okay, so we've talked about how it helps you with your resume and your CV and with interview prep, but what about the actual like job searching part?
Oh, yeah, they've got you covered there too.
Okay.
So they have this whole system for tracking your applications and like managing your network of contacts.
So it's like a CRM for your job search.
Kind of, yeah. But it's all integrated with the AI and the other tools, so it's like having a personal assistant for your career.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
But you know what I'm really curious about?
What's that?
This whole mail clerk thing.
Oh, yeah. The mailroom deep dive.
Because like at first I was like, mail clerk? Who even thinks about mail clerks anymore?
I know, right?
But then I started reading these sources and I was like, wait a minute.
There's more to this than meets the eye.
There's a whole world here, like a
Yeah.
hidden world of career paths and stuff.
Exactly. It's not just about sorting envelopes anymore.
Right. Like what we're finding is that technology is changing everything.
Everything.
Even those jobs that we think are like stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the mailroom is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and like you wouldn't think it, but there's actually a lot of nuance to being a mail clerk.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's not as easy as it looks.
No, not at all.
Okay, so like, what are we talking about here? Like what kind of nuance?
Well, think about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
mail clerks are handling important documents and packages, sometimes confidential information.
True.
They have to be organized, detail-oriented.
Yeah.
They need to know all the postal regulations and, like, shipping protocols.
Right, and with all the online shopping these days, like
Exactly.
they're probably busier than ever.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about, like, chucking things in a bag anymore, either. They're using databases and tracking systems and...
Oh yeah, all that technology we keep talking about.
Right. It's all connected.
So it's like a tech job disguised as a mailroom job.
Kind of. And that's what makes the career path thing so interesting.
Okay, so tell me more about this career path. Like, what does it actually look like?
So you start as an entry-level mail clerk, right? learning the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you gain experience, you can move up to like a mail clerk the second,
Okay.
where you might start supervising other clerks or handling more specialized mailings.
The more responsibility.
Exactly. And then from there, you could even become a senior mail clerk.
Senior mail clerk.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of fancy. What does a senior mail clerk even do?
Well, at that level, it's not just about like the day-to-day operations anymore.
Okay.
You're thinking strategically. You might be managing budgets, evaluating new technologies for the mailroom.
Wow, so there's like room for innovation and stuff?
Absolutely. You could be the one to come up with a whole new system for like sorting mail or whatever.
That's pretty cool. I never would have thought of that.
Right. And it's all about like taking those core skills, those essential skills that you learn as a mail clerk.
Like what?
Organization, attention to detail, problem solving,
Okay.
and then applying them in a way that helps the whole mailroom run more efficiently.
So it's like taking those skills to the next level.
Exactly. And those are skills that are valuable in any job, really.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
So it's not just about the specific tasks, it's about the transferable skills you're developing.
exactly. And I think that's something that people often overlook.
They do. It's like everyone's so focused on like the job title or the industry, but
Right.
they don't always think about the skills that are transferable across different fields.
Exactly. And those skills are like gold.
They're like career currency or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about RoleCatcher and this whole mail clerk thing and like how technology is changing everything.
It's crazy, right?
It is kind of crazy. But I have to ask, like, how does all of this actually help someone who's listening to this right now?
That's the big question, right?
It is. Like, what's the takeaway here?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that the job market is changing faster than ever.
Okay.
And we can either be afraid of that change or we can embrace it.
Embrace the chaos.
Exactly. And I think tools like RoleCatcher can help us do that.
Okay, how so? That's so.
By giving us the tools and information we need to like navigate that change effectively.
Okay, so it's not just about like finding a job. It's about
Yeah.
understanding how the game is played and like
Yeah.
and then using those rules to your advantage.
Exactly. It's like we said before, it's like having the cheat codes.
I like that analogy.
And the mail clerk thing is a good reminder that like
Yeah,
there are opportunities everywhere, even in places you might not expect.
totally. Like, don't underestimate the power of a good mailroom.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to like think outside the box when it comes to your career.
Or inside the mailroom, as the case may be.
Right.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have?
But if there's one thing I want our listeners to take away from this whole deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
it's that, like,
Yeah.
the future of work is all about adaptability and, like,
Definitely.
being open to new possibilities and, like,
Being willing to learn new things.
yes, lifelong learning all that jazz.
Exactly.
Because the world is changing so fast that, like, right,
Mhm.
the skills you have today might not be the skills you need tomorrow.
That's so true.
So you got to stay curious, stay informed, and, like, never stop exploring.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up here.
Sounds good.
Keep those questions coming. You know where to find us.
Until next time.
Till next time.